Hey YouTube, this is Gajorio. I am making this video series specifically on vibe coding a video game from scratch. It's all vibe coding. I don't know any coding. I don't go into this code and make adjustments. I am strictly vibe coding. This is in Godot. I am using an attachment called Ziva. This actually allows me to use AI, and the AI will go in and create and change things in the game engine. So I think I just want to start off by talking about why I wanted to make this series of videos. I'm actually 2 weeks into this game, so we're just going to kind of jump in halfway, but I plan on making videos throughout the whole process and hopefully getting a game up on Steam. So I have spent 4 sessions now, each session about 3 hours a piece using this tool. Back in the past, I've done a lot of Unreal Engine and some Unity stuff and failed at those. I was terrible at the blueprints. I'm not good at coding. So, and then I've used, LLMs, so like ChatGPT and Claude and stuff to give me instructions to put into the game, but that takes a long time and usually ends up being wrong, so you end up chasing your tail. So I'm super excited about this. So I found Ziva after looking for another game engine that was a little bit simpler. I did some searching online. And when I found Ziva, it attaches over here on the left. You get a panel and you just put your prompt in there and it does what you tell it to do. So I'm super excited for this. Like I said, I actually spent months in Unreal trying to learn it and get it down. I know it probably takes a lot longer than that, but it was really frustrating. Didn't really get anywhere at all. I was trying to just do an inventory system, and that didn't turn out. In 4 sessions of using this, I have an inventory system, a hotbar. I made a lobby. I made a map, intro, menu, multiplayer. It's you name it. It's this thing's crazy. So I'm excited to share this with you guys and to share the journey. So what we have is I'm in Godot game engine. This particular game that I am making is going to be a medieval Rust. For those of you out there familiar with Rust, it's a survival game where you can build bases, raid other people. There'll be monuments, but this is going to be actually set in medieval times. There'll be magic, knights, bows, swords, things like that. You'll be able to build your base and castle pieces as well as raid other people. There'll be NPCs, things like that. Traditional survival stuff, right? You can farm. That's where I'm going with it. I can also edit this. So if any of you out there like that style of game or want to contribute to the project, let me know. I do not have a name for it yet, but I will come up with one. I was kind of toying with the idea called Vassal. I also played a lot of Life is Feudal back before they ruined the game, in my opinion, and went to MMO and then charged everybody that already purchased the game. They charged them subscription, and then they kind of tanked the game because another entity took the game from them. But I played a lot of Life is Feudal, and what's cool about that game is there was an aspect of terraforming. So I wanted to implement that in this game. I want to be very clear, all of this is 100% vibe coding. Even if I need to go change some sort of like value, like, hey, I want this brighter or darker, or I want this number to be something, I am actually using Ziva on all of it. I'll play the game here in a minute and I'll show you. For the audio files, I went on Suno, which is an AI music generator. Grab those. For some of the art, like the menu art, just AI generating menu art. Everything in here is AI, including I'm looking at a Tripo for 3D assets. So you give it a prompt, it makes a 3D asset that I can put into the game. So everything on here is going to be vibe coded. Everything on here is going to be AI. And there's going to be no coding, and I'm doing the whole project that way. And when you see how far I've got, at least for me, it's very eye-opening. I'm leaps and bounds over where I was spending months in Unreal. And I dabbled a little bit in Unity as well. So we can kind of dig into where I'm at. So as of right now, we'll go ahead and do this. It's going to play some music, but I'll just play the game and kind of explain what's going on. Kira Games is going to be the name of the studio. So this music's not going to turn off. Hopefully you guys can hear me over the music. But you can host a game yourself. You can also join others. I actually spun this up and have my brother join from New Jersey. I'm in California. So let's do a player name and let's host a game. Okay, cool. So doesn't look like much right now, right? Well, I actually changed what I was doing with this game. This is the lobby. I actually made a lobby using Ziva, just saying, hey, I need a lobby. I also want to see all the players that are in the lobby, and when they queue up, a countdown starts and they can unqueue, etc. And then it was originally building a procedural dungeon, which was working. It had different floor pieces, like a hallway and a room that snapped together automatically, and it would generate it. So it'd be a randomly built or randomly generated dungeon every single time. But I kind of switched that up because I noticed the power of doing this and how far I was getting. I wanted to go back to my passion project, which is exactly this, which is, again, medieval Rust. So I still have the lobby in here. The lobby will not be in here in the final game, but it's pretty cool. I told it to build a lobby, and it did. So if you look on the right when I do this, it will say I'm readied up and then spawn into the world. So what this did was it did generate a randomly generated world. I gave it a fly command just so I could fly around and test things. But this randomly generated world, as the players run around, you can press a command and it shows you all of the tiles and their heights. If you're familiar with the game Life is Feudal, this is very similar to that. And then you can turn on terraforming mode. In the game, it'll be, you're holding a shovel, but you can terraform. So you can actually move things up and down, right? I can also flatten land, which becomes very important later on when you're adding building pieces, which I did have working, but I was experimenting with, so it's a little bit broken right now, but I'll record and show you how it'll fix it for me. So notice that it's lighting up blue. This essentially means it's a player flattened area, and that's the only place that you can build. So you can run around, terraform all of the landscape, so the green and the yellow or the sandy color down there, all of that. Once it generated this map, I asked it to create, hey, add some noise so I've got mountains and valleys and a couple lakes, and it did everything. Then I said, add some water. It did that. I'm just overwhelmed with how awesome this tool is because I can create whatever I want to create, and I don't have to understand coding. Now, I would imagine I'm through this process. I might hit some roadblocks, but I haven't really hit any yet. I've got items here. Like I said, oh, it is working. Okay. Well, for example, I got some items here. And just like traditional other games, it's red, I can't place it. And it can be only placed on player flattened ground. So we'll go ahead and place that guy. I am also working on a snapping system for building bases and things like that. It's not done yet. But yeah, that's kind of the roadmap, right? Is the building system. There's obviously going to be combat, things like that. I do need to work on and see if this is going to allow me to optimize. Let me see here. As you can see when things stick like this, I can just go right in and type and fix that. But I am going to ask it to optimize this somehow. If you notice when I'm terraforming, this will turn fly off. So terraforming, there's a little bit of lag, right? I'm clicking and I'm terraforming. It's because it's redrawing all the shaders and everything for this whole thing. Again, I don't know coding. I know a little bit about just kind of game design in the sense that I've been in Unreal for a long time. But I really wanted to share this tool because, again, this is 4 sessions, each session like maybe 3 hours, and I've switched the game completely, and I've gotten all of this. Like this is fully functional. I can have multiplayer. I can have people join. I even had it create a weapon for me that I could shoot other players. That's why I have a health bar up here on the top left, scoreboard on the right. That was from the previous game. Very cool. So, all right. So what we're going to do now is I was going to experiment and we can see. So I was working on adjusting the sound of the music. And by the way, I just put the music and the intro and everything in there. Here are my prompts. Now I want you to play this audio file when the game starts and fade away quickly when a player hosts or joins a game. It's in the sounds folder, the final frontier. I can even tell it, the final, and it will go just track this thing down, right? I don't have to tell it exactly. I could have even said the final frontier and it would have found it in the folder. I'll show you one of my other prompts I did. Okay, it's working perfect. Let's move on to the main menu. Let's center it on the screen and make it cool and stylized. Because before it was just gray. Now it added the yellow on there, etc. Let's see, what did I start with today? We need to adjust the main menu. I want the Kira Games PNG to fade in and out when the game starts from solid black, then cut to the main menu. It's doing all of this for me. This stuff just blows my mind. So let's do this. Let's see if it'll add a volume slider for the main menu music. So for example, when you start this guy up, I have 2 debug windows just because I can test multiplayer. I can host on one and join on the other. But notice it's kind of loud. Let's see what it gives us. Put it on the top left of the main menu. Volume slider for the main menu music. Yeah, let's see what it goes. Also, you've got different models here to work with. Some of the cheaper ones to use, and I'll kind of go into like what this costs in a second, but cheaper in terms of tokens, of the amount of processing power it takes to do these prompts, is Gemini 3 Flash and Haiku. I usually use Haiku, but I was using Flash for a little bit. We'll just leave it on Flash for now. I can kind of drop what this costs. So I found Ziva, I installed it. They give you, a little bit for free that you can test with. And then I believe it's like 10, 20, and 50, if I'm not mistaken. I can actually pull this up and show you guys. Let's see here. There's Ziva, boom, pricing. Okay, 0, 20, and 50. Like I said, I spent months trying to make a game before, and this was really exciting to me, so I went with 50. It gives you your weekly credits. So I pay $50 a month, right? It gives me $150 worth of usage, and you use the usage weekly, so I can only do $50 per week. Typically, that'll be around, at least for me, anywhere between 4 to 6 hours straight. I can burn a week up. And then you can always message them as well to pay them to reset the week. Take in consideration the fact that I know zero about coding at all. I can't even pay somebody for $50 a month to stand behind me and guide me, right? And I have went probably 10x further in the past 4 sessions than I did months before using LLM and Unreal and Unity and things like that. So, the value for me is huge. Another cool thing is I did talk to the developers. They have a Discord channel. I went on there and I told them, hey, I'm going to make some videos. I don't know if you guys have any like referral things. So there is a referral code. I'll put it in the description. That allows you guys to get a discount when you try it out. It also kicks me credits so I can keep going on this game. So if you guys want to check it out, you can do for free. It will let you do it up to a certain amount. And then there's a code that I'll put in the description that allows you guys to get a discount, which is cool because I didn't have one going in, and I've already burned through. I've burned through a lot. I've already reset my week once, and I've maxed it out previously. So very cool. All right, let's get back to it. So I need a volume slider. This is kind of more of a test, right? But I just want to see what it does. So I need a volume slider for the main menu music. Put it on the top left of the main menu. So let's give it a go. It's actually really fast. So if you notice, it's telling you what it's doing. You'll also notice it'll bounce around in here in the menu sometimes because it's going in there and making all of the changes for you. Another really cool thing I like about this versus like, oh, I'm just going to open ChatGPT and then ask it what to do and copy and paste files in and do all that because I've done that 1,000 times. This will reiterate while it's working. So it will check back to make sure the scripts are working after it makes a change and correct them as it goes, which is huge. There's nothing more frustrating than trying to go back and forth with like a ChatGPT or a Claude prompt and like troubleshooting and then putting, debug stuff in there so you can see messages and then trying to show ChatGPT what you saw to see if it's right or wrong. All right, so let's see what it did. I'm actually quite curious. Let's see what we got going on here. All right. Oh, okay. So it crashed, right? What's cool about this is I don't have to look at any of this stuff. at all. I don't have to look at the errors, nothing. I can just say crash on startup. Boop. And it will go read the errors and it will find out why it crashed. So there are times where I guess it messes up, but it does a really good job. If you ever have any errors at all and you tell it to go look for errors, it will go find them pretty much immediately. So cool. Look, okay. Let's see what it did. I'm actually very curious to see what's going on here. Oh, wow. Okay, so notice it's not working, but I have 2 windows open. Okay, we have a volume slider. Very cool. Okay, so let's go in this bad boy. You can enter your, you have to enter your player name. Let's see if it actually still has the warning on it. It doesn't, but actually, there we go. Yep. The biggest thing with this is just knowing what you're asking for is huge, right? If you notice, my character model is a giant rat. I got that for free on Meshy, using their low-end garbage model for free, and then was able to download it. So I can actually show you guys what this looks like. It's actually kind of funny. We'll do this. So like I said before, I have 2 testing windows open. This allows me to test multiplayer, so I can host the game. So whatever, let's turn that down. Glad I added that. I can host the game, and then I can have people join, aka this debug window, join as if it's someone else. So cool, I'm hosting, boom. I need to enter a player name. We'll just say rat, join. Oh look, got the name above it. Godot also automatically, at least from what I've seen, puts in like inputs. I'm jumping and moving back and forth. You don't have to go set all this stuff up from scratch. Again, Ziva is doing all of this for me, so I don't have to worry about it. And there's see the ready up. This was part of the lobby. Okay, let's see if it dumps us into the game. Beautiful. He's off the map. Great. Good stuff. It probably because he spawned a little bit away from the other one. All right, so let's see what we want to do next. So last I left off, I was working on a building system, but what I think I want to do is get rid of the lobby. Right? I have that whole lobby section where you're like waiting in the lobby, you ready up. That's not going to be a part of the game. There's going to be a server that is running and people are going to be joining the server. So let's go over here to Ziva and say, let's remove the lobby. Okay. So we're going to say, let's remove the lobby. When the host hosts the game, it should go right into the map. No lobby. I'll say same with the joining players. They go into the host game directly, no lobby. So you can do a decently large prompt where you're telling it to do multiple things. I haven't had a huge issue with it. I've had times where like I'm asking it to do a lot. So I'm waiting for a decent amount of time because it's like, as you see right here, it's going through, it's viewing the scripts, it's editing the files and doing all that. But what I like to do is make a couple changes at one time so I can just quickly go test them to make sure they're working. Instead of doing like 5 things and then I've got to go test all 5. Because sometimes, like you saw earlier when I added that voice or when I added the sound bar, the volume, it crashed. Well, there's sometimes where in previous I've added a menu and I haven't been able to click on things and I had to have it go fix it. It's nice to only do a couple things at one time. All right, so let's see what we got here. Okay, so crashed. This is quite a bit more than usual, but again, I am using Gemini Flash. I'm going to switch to Haiku. These are cheaper in terms of your bucket, right? You've got a bucket of let's just say use or tokens that you can use. Haiku is one of the cheaper Claude ones. Flash is cheap as well. I'm not a fan of ChatGPT anymore. That's just personal preference. I've used it for a very long time for different things, especially trying to do game design. It's been a pain in my butt. So let's take a look. Let's see if this worked. Whatever name we want, we're going to click host. Okay, boom. I'm right in the game. I'm not in the lobby anymore, which is very cool. And then we can actually start this again. We'll test the join player to make sure the join player gets in there. So yeah, I would say the biggest thing with this is just to know what you want and ask for it. So know what you're asking for in terms of how you want the game to work. So for example, when I first did the terraforming aspect on here, you're going to work through different iterations, but before, like one player would terraform, the other player couldn't see it. So you just tell it, hey, I want both players, to be on the same map. That's being adjusted, things like that. Just kind of know what you're asking for. But this is crazy. I have an inventory system. I have a hotbar that works. I've got health, which, once I get some other weapons in here, I used to have a blaster in here. Terraforming works. The map generation works. So if you look at the map, even, I said this before, but the colors, I literally just wrote a prompt and said, hey, I want the mountaintops to be white. I want the mountains to be gray. I want, the valleys and stuff to be green. And then, the around the water to be like sand. And it did it for me, all of it. Okay, so what do we want to do next? I think I want to do this. So I want to turn the map into an island, right? I think that would be the best with players spawning on the outside of the island. So let's see, how do we want to do that? So let's say I want the map to be a large island surrounded by water. The edges of the map need to slope gently down into the water on all sides, and a large endless water plane. You can use whatever description you want, like talking about like a plane and stuff like that. If you're new to game design, which I don't know anything really about game design. I've just played around. I don't know any coding or anything like that. I just know some of the concepts. Experiment with the prompts. Just tell it, what you plan on doing, and it will add things in there in addition to what you asked for. Sometimes you need to tell them to take it out. Sometimes not. Sometimes you're like, oh, that's a really good idea. I'm glad you did that. When I added, hey, I want to be able to place this crate onto the ground, it said, hey, well, here I added a thing for you so you can rotate it, right? All right, so let's see what this does. Now we're gonna hear this song every time we start this up. Okay, player name, boom. Oh yeah, it's got water for sure. But I notice, okay, so notice I asked for something. I said, hey, I want a giant water plane, right? But it's not going into the water on the sides, right? It's just kind of created this giant plane bigger than the map. So we need to tell it what happened, right? So the map is still above the water line at the edges. Just kind of have an open dialogue. I kind of just threw in my own folders, right? So here's some assets. Another cool thing about this is, try to find it, like these right here, these floor foundation square, I actually told it to make building pieces for me, and it generated them. Now, it's not going to make you like this stuff that's all textured, and I'll show you what that is. It's like an asset pack I got for free. It's not going to make stuff like this, like a detailed banner all colored, but it will make blocks for you. Okay, let's see what this did. The music's going to get annoying. Okay, so it's doing a little better. Not really, though. So I have to figure that out. We will need to see what we can do. Oh, the other cool thing about this, just like you would use for anything else, is you can, I'll tab this, I'll tab it. You can take pictures and send it. So I can say, hey, below edges of the image. And then sometimes I'll say, can we approach different? So it's going to take a look at the image file and then see what we can do. But yeah, I'm just blown away at the sheer amount of power that this thing has. All of these scripts and everything, I did none of this. Okay, so let's see. It will tell you what it does too. Water plane's now fixed at 5. Edge channeling, instead of making edges negative, the fall off goes to 0. The inner islands keeps full terrain. All right, let's see if that's true. Some things it'll get right out the gate. Some things take a little bit of iterations. Oh, you know what? I bet you I'm under the water right now. Yep. So its solution was just to raise the water level. Okay. Can you make each edge of the maps go to -1? And this, I'm just, assuming water level is going to be 0 or 1 or something. All right, let's see. I don't think it's going to do it, but we will find out. Oh, no, nope. So maybe I need a different way for it to do a map, right? So let me think about this. So let's say, can we add pieces to the edges of the map that slope down in the water? Water needs to be at 0 also, as it's still as now, but water is almost the whole map. This is one of the more complicated ones I've had to do. Inventory system, it did in a couple prompts. Hotbar it did in a couple prompts. Menu it did in a couple prompts. Multiplayer it did in one prompt. So yeah, it just really depends on what you're doing and how you can describe it. So we'll see. We'll see what this is. We'll see what happens. I don't think it's gonna do it, but you never know. Sometimes when I hit a roadblock, I'll use another model. Oh. No way. Okay. Oh, that was false hope. Very false hope. Is there a circle? It's interesting. Okay. Figured lakes. Yeah, sometimes you'll go back and forth on this stuff. So some other things that we can test out, because I can always come back to this, is we can try have it set up some sort of a survival kind of farming thing, which I'll show you. I haven't done this yet. Basically everything you're saying I haven't done in this before, so it's all brand new stuff. It's definitely trying. It's not really working. Okay, so what we're gonna do now, let's change to making nodes for players to, can you make boxes that represent stone, randomly spawn players, and then to collect in stacks of 1,000. So let's see. If I had some, some of these 3D models of like a stone or something, I could tell it, hey, go randomly spawn these 3D models and make it when a player clicks on it. But we'll have it throw some of its own nodes to test it out first. Because one of the biggest things that I'm noticing is 3D assets is going to be huge. Now, I got pointed in the direction of Trippo, which is very cool. I could probably pull that up if I wanted to. But Trippo3D.ai, that is where you can use prompts and AI to make assets. Okay, so it spawned some boxes. That's good. Can I click on them is the thing. How it works. When you click on the stone box, it adds stone to your inventory. Is it adding stone to my inventory? No. Okay, cool. So randomly spawn stone nodes. Okay, so let's do this. See the boxes, and I click, and then I get those stone. And you just kind of go through this, right? So you have your roadmap. You put in prompts trying to make whatever functionality you're trying to make, and then go through, test it, make sure it works. And if it doesn't, you just prompt it again and say, hey, this isn't working. Okay, cool. So it's doing something. Let's take a look. Yeah, that sound's gonna get pretty annoying pretty quick. Recommend if you're doing a large map or something like that, that you add fly mode or something that allows you to get around while you're testing. Definitely helps. Okay, no, it does not appear to work there. Also, when I press escape in game, it just goes black, which is not correct. You could even tell it things like that, and it will probably go correct that. When I press escape, it should say like go back to game or exit. Problem is that the stone nodes are spawned before the player is fully initialized. It'll have these errors. I wouldn't really worry about these errors, as it will go back and fix itself. Sometimes you'll get like 10 of these, and I wouldn't even trip, to be honest. I would still play it and test it out because it'll go back and fix its own stuff. Stone clicking. Collect 1,000 stone per click. This escape behavior. So let's take a look. Gonna do this. Okay, so we crashed. Crash on host game. So what it should do is it's gonna go check the errors and then go resolve them. Like I said before, it's really good with the errors and fixing things. Let's give it another go. Cool. It's working. Let's go there. Interesting. Okay. So when I pressed escape, it still went black, but notice that it collected stone right here. Go black. Instead, the menu with back to game and exit game. Also, I collected stone when I clicked black. Not very elegant, but it will get the point. It's telling you what it's doing. So yeah, overall, this is going to be a medieval Rust game, so a survival base builder. You can raid people. There would be magic. Devs at Rust originally were going to make a game like this off of the Rust engine, but never made it. You can find it, I think it's about like 2 years ago. I'm trying to remember what it's called. Okay, so that, nope, interesting. So, it's a little bit of finagling. Yeah, that's what I thought. It's what I thought. It's the splash screen probably that was popping up. Okay, look at that. There's no ambient sounds yet. Once I get Suno or some other AI to give me some ambient sounds, I'll throw them in here. Now let's test and see if this guy works. Doesn't look like it. Okay, so the menu is fixed, but the nodes are not. But nodes collision, it's down into inventory as an item clicked. When in doubt, or you're going around in circles sometimes, I will swap over to a different model. So I use Flash and Haiku mostly. I haven't even tried these other ones, to be honest, because I've got so far. I haven't really needed to. I know they are more quote-unquote expensive. They use more of your allotted amount that you can use, but I think they're a little more advanced. So I'll probably use them at some point. Okay, so press the interaction key. E or F. This will add. Okay. We'll give it a shot. There are some key mappings that are already in place in Godot, which is cool. You know, like jump forward, back. I'm pretty sure those were there at the beginning of my project. Regardless, and there's an interaction key. I'm pretty sure it's E. So let's take a look at what we got. Let's fly over here to this guy. Nope, nothing. It did add collision though, so I'm not clipping through it, which is good. I like to test it this way. Right? Just like, hey, can you randomly spawn nodes for me? And then try to go get some without like, hey, give me a tool. And then if I have the tool and then do this, I kind of like to start with like, well, can I just go get it first and see if that works? And once that works, I can tell it, okay, instead of just pressing E or clicking on it to get stone, I want it only when they're, you know, hitting it with a pickaxe or something like that, or a tree, or, you know, hitting with a hatchet. So let's take a look. Add collision, but I still get. I'm pressing E. Can you make sure that connect stone into my inventory? Each node has, let's say, 2k stone. I collect. It should disappear. Disappear. And respawn. Let's test it, like respawning it, and respawn in 10 seconds. So what I'm getting at when I'm trying to test is like, once I get a 3D model of a stone that players to be able to go collect stone from, I want it to randomly generate it onto the map. I want players to be able to go up and collect it, and it will disappear and then respawn in a certain amount of time. And then eventually I'll be asking it to not respawn the node if it's within a certain amount away from like a player building, so it's not spawning inside of things like that. Godot's done a really good job with those kinds of requests. All right, let's see if it's working or not. I might disable that sound just because every time I join the game I gotta listen to that. It's pretty cool. It made this map, you know, with the lakes and everything on it for me. Okay. Oh. Okay. Oh, it took away everything else in my inventory. Okay. I do have drag and drop, right? It set all this up for me. Right click goes in my hotbar. Drag and drop, I can select it. Previously, like you saw, I had like a crate as an item in my hotbar, and I could place it onto leveled areas. But let's keep going. Let's get this stuff. I want to see if it respawns. Oh, cool. It's got stacking on there. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I can split a stack by holding shift, right? And you can, you know, tell it to change all that stuff. But that was the inventory system is actually probably the most simple. Okay, cool. So now we've got, I can go collect stone, right? It's not respawning, okay? On the roadmap also is building pieces that snap together so I can make bases. I will need to see, this might be one of the more manual things I will have to do. Everything else, again, this is all vibe coding. Going and getting those assets and or just like making them in Blender, which I tell you, my skill set in Blender is make cube blocks stretched out or smaller, and that's about it. I might start there. and then just go find some assets or something like that for the base. You know, that's probably the most challenging, again, is getting those 3D assets. But I am so far along in this compared to what I was before. It is blowing my mind. I am probably going to set up and go through Tripo to get, you know, 3D models, 3D AI models, and then put them in here. And then I believe on the latest version of Godot, look, it respawned. Whoa, that's a lot of stone. 64. Let's, oh my, okay, cool. Alrighty, is that lagging? Okay, lagging out a little bit. What I like to do is you can hit back on this if it's going to let me, unless Godot's tripping out. Okay, refresh. Not a big deal. When I collect a stone node, it fills my whole inventory. I need it to give me 100 stone stacks at 1000 inventory, and I want it to have. Sometimes you will get a mess. It says like failed to send message. Just save it, close it, and reopen. It's kind of rare. Once you get set up for the first time, it happens. It happened to me for quite a while. But you just save your Godot, reopen it, and you should be good to go. Notice it's like flipping through this and creating all this script. It is awesome. Change the stone amount. Now clicking the stone now gives 100. And, okay, that's fine. I'm not tripping on. It's gonna. I know it didn't spawn any. Should probably tilt it, do a little bit more. Let's take a look. 101. Interesting. Okay. 202. So it's giving me 101 stone. And you don't have to trip if you leave the debug windows open, like when you play test the game and use Ziva, it's not a big deal. And there's things that you can actually watch it change certain things live in the game while it's doing it. So that's kind of cool. But I typically close them out of paranoia. I don't know if it does anything or not. So basically, yeah, I just have an open dialogue with this thing and just be like, hey, I'm getting 101 stone per node for some reason. Can you fix that? Also, please tree nodes in more abundance. Please add tree nodes and make them more abundant. Same logic, but for what? And make the tree nodes brown. So yeah, again, if I had the 3D model for that, I would say, hey, use this tree, randomly spawn it, and then, you know, have it respawn, etc. But I just want to get this working to where, hey, it'll do nodes. Hey, I can go collect nodes and it'll put it in my inventory. There's one more thing I want to try after this, and it is dropping items on the ground. I'm very curious if it's going to do what I'm going to ask it to do. So we will see here in a minute once this is done. I'm going to ask it to put some items in my inventory, and when I drag them off of the inventory screen. All right, so we got tree nodes, tall brown blocks. Oh, it made them tall. Cool. 80 across the map, and then blah, blah, blah. Well, let's see what it did. Yeah, see, it'll do stuff like that where it'll like, oh, I made them tall or whatever. Or I added this extra thing for you. Yeah, that's kind of cool, actually. Yeah, okay. What is that, like 90? That's 100 wood, but the stacks are of 64. Got it. Okay. Is that 200? I think that's 200, right? 180. Yeah, it's 200. Okay, so that is working. I just need to change the stack size, right? But it's doing all of this. I can split them. If I had an odd number, let's do this. I think it will, yeah, automatically do that. I can put them in my inventory. It'll restack, or my hotbar, it'll restack them. I am a little curious what's going to happen when I do this. It's probably not going to do anything, right? Because I didn't tell it to like, hey, snap the trees to the terrain. I want to try one more thing on this. I want to see if it'll have a tree fall over. I collect a tree node, spawn makes it look like tree falls over, disappears. If you test the stuff out in blocks and then go worry about 3D assets later, at least the stuff will be set up. I noticed because this, when you connect Ziva and you've got, I had another project where I connected it to, it will just go search through everything and see how everything's set up. So if you have this kind of functionality already set up, later on I can just go, hey, will you add this tree in there, and then also, you know, make it go a little bit below the terrain kind of thing. All right, let's see. Let's see if this works. When collected, it triggers a tween that rotates the tree 90 degrees in a random direction with a bounce effect Okay, we'll see if that's true. Let's take a look. Also, the flying, I just said, hey, make the characters fly, and it did all the controls like spacebars up, controls down, all that stuff. Okay, so that doesn't work. Let's see if it respawns, actually. It does. Not too concerned with that right now, but let's work on... Okay, now I want the player to have the crate and their inventory to start, and I want to be able to drop into the world, spawning a, let's say, spawning a crate 5% size of the crate with physics, so it will go onto the ground. It is slightly thrown forward player, right? Instead of just like, hey, I just slammed it on the ground. I have no idea if this is going to work, but we're going to find out. Oh, that crate to player starting inventory. Error. You'll see a lot where it says, like, after the error, be like, well, I'll do it this way. It'll find another way to do it. I will re-examine this to ensure I have the correct search text. Blah, blah, blah. Search text not found in file. Okay, so let's... Okay, it gives a gravity drag and drop to the world to handle drops outside of inventory slots. Okay, cool. I remember in Unreal, that was a pain in the royal butt. Trying to get something to spawn into the world using blueprints, at least for me, was just a nightmare. I had a really hard time with Unreal, but I'm sure there's others. Like if you're, you know how to code, you know how to do blueprints, things like that, it's probably easy for you. But I would assume this video is not for you. This is for someone who has really good ideas that they want to create something in a game engine, whether it's 3D or 2D, but just don't have the technical prowess to do all this coding and all this scripting and all this kind of stuff. This is removing that roadblock. So it's huge. It was huge for me. I'm really excited about this. I'm hoping within a month maybe or two I get to some point where it's pretty functional. But we'll see. Again, if you're interested in contributing to the project, the medieval survival game with raiding castles, there'll be monuments with NPCs, magic, things like that. Hit me up. I'll put my Discord down into the... I'll put it in the description on the YouTube. I'll also put the link to the discounted Ziva down there. It helps me out to keep going, but it also gives you a discount to try it out, which is pretty cool. Let's see where this goes. I will check Godot logs again to see if the parse error in inventory UI has been resolved. So what I really like about this is it goes back. This is a huge difference between pulling up, again, ChatGPT or something else and using this as it goes back and fixes its own stuff. You're not stuck with like, talking to ChatGPT. Hey, this is all messed up. Okay, let me figure it out. The other thing about that is ChatGPT and those other, LLMs, when you're using them in that way, the chat gets so long that it was taking 5 minutes to get a response. And then I would have to tell it, hey, will you summarize everything we've done so I could feed it into a new chat? And so it goes faster and you have to keep going in that cycle. And it's just insane. This is a huge step up. Let's see. So what happens when you run out of quote unquote credits with Ziva? It will just stop. So be aware of that. If you're in the middle of doing something like this, where it's doing a lot of different actions, it will stop in the middle of them. So if that happens, and you can't run your game, you can try to fiddle with it. And I feel very free to do that. Like, oh, let me just try to fiddle with it to get it to run again, just so I can at least see it. Again, I'm not a coder, so I can't really move forward without, vibe coding this. But it allows you to open the game if you like want to show somebody or something like that. And then you either have to wait for your week to be up, or you could ask and pay to reset your week. But what I highly recommend is if that happens, let's say it just stopped right here when it's like deleting scripts and stuff or doing whatever it's doing, is grab your prompt that you used and just copy it into Notepad. So when you actually get to use Ziva again, like you either have more credits or whatever, you can put that prompt back in and it'll search and find out where it was and then just keep going. Wow, it's doing a lot on this one. Where's my prompt at? Okay. Put the crate in their inventory, drag and drop it in the world, spawn a crate that's smaller, you can give it physics. Okay, I don't know. Let's see what's going on here. Let's see here. It's doing its thing. Looks like it decided to go a different direction with how it works. All right, let's give her a go. Also very curious if I can still, it still has the logic to place it. Sometimes when you add things, it'll break other things, but that's the same way when you're making the games anyways, or at least what I was running into in Unreal, as well as I'd imagine anything else. You update one system, it might, I got all my stuff back. Wiped the inventory. Interesting. Okay, nothing. Well, I can still place it. Let's do this bad boy. Let's level these spots out. Get a nice little crate action going on. Let's rotate it wherever I want. Let's get this going on right there. Turn off terraforming. Cool. Okay. Well, that did not work, but it's good for now. I'll keep plugging away. If you like the series or don't like the series, go ahead and comment, I guess. If you want to try out Ziva, you can go try it for free. If you use the code that I have, you can get a little bit of a discount on it, which is cool. But give it a go. I mean, this did not take that long to get to where I'm at, right? So I've got multiplayer. I do have an inventory system I can mess with. I have a hotbar that works. I can place items in the world. I have terraforming. I've got a map that's generated. Tons of stuff. So this is really cool. I'll see you guys.